They say there is no fate, no predestination, and so on. A child asks a man, does Allah know whom I will marry? What does Allah know about whom you will marry, my child? He replies, then what happens? Your grandmother and mother see the girl, they like her, and so on. You also like her, and you decide to marry. Once you get married, even your grandmother knows. This way they diminish Allah's knowledge and equate it with the grandmother's knowledge. To say that Allah does not know particulars, details, is blasphemy according to the consensus of Ahl al-Sunnah. Now these people also recite verses. Imam Rabbani Hazretleri says that not everyone who recites a verse is credible. What verse do they recite exactly? Let's see. For example, they recite this. We will test you. Who tests? A teacher who does not know beforehand what the student has learned from the lesson. And the result of the test will reveal what the student has grasped. Or what does he say here? Until we know. We will test you until we know. What? Who will struggle? Who will be patient? Who will give up? Who will not endure? Who will run away? Who will succeed? We will test you until we know these things. Now there is such a verse, but they do not look at the tafsir, they do not look at the hadiths, and they do not consider other verses. They interpret it in a mutazilite manner. And what do they say next? When you look at that verse, Allah will separate the impure from the pure. He will distinguish the unbeliever from the believer. He will separate those who are patient from those who are not. Here he says he will know. And there he says he will separate. He will separate. And what happens when he separates? You will understand Allah has already known from eternity who is what. Who will remain steadfast on this path? Who will flee? Who will deviate in belief? Who will apostatize? But here we are talking about knowing in a different sense. However, what is the meaning of knowing there? For instance, for example, the tafsir says, I already knew it in eternity, but at that time I could not show it to you. It had not yet manifested. You did not know it. Tomorrow you will say, oh Rab, I did not know that this man would do this, and you sent him to hell. To show you, it must happen. When we know something that was already known, but now it has actually happened, what happens? Then it becomes clear. The Quran states this. But you say, Allah does not know. You support this claim by quoting a verse. But the verses do not say that. They say Allah knows everything. To say that Allah does not know particulars is blasphemy. Allah knows me as He created me. But does He know what I do in my private life? Does He know what happens in my house? If a flea jumps here or an ant passes there, why would Allah bother with such things? Allah forbid. But Allah says He knows everything. You do not read the verse that says, not a single leaf falls without His knowledge. What does a leaf mean? The world has leaves and trees. Even a calculator would not be enough to count them. But He knows every leaf. This is about knowing particulars. Isn't this a verse? Now everyone quotes verses to make claims. To say that Allah does not know particulars or that destiny does not exist is blasphemy. We bring proof. We created everything according to a decree. Destiny. Fate. But now it is being dismissed. The Mu'tazila or this mindset says that qadr here means measure and proportion. Allah does not act without measure or balance. He creates everything with a specific proportion and does not create randomly. This is what they claim. They say it doesn't refer to destiny as written. Brother, now this person also reads you a verse. When they interpret the verse this way, you start to wonder. Now, if you look at the Ahl al-Sunnah, they also read the verse to you. My beloved, say that no calamity will befall us except what Allah has written for us. Look, katiba means wrote. Now you are trying to distort the meaning. What will you say to this? Allah did not leave anything unwritten. He wrote it before it happened to us. He wrote it before it happened. This is the clear meaning of the verse. If you are still not convinced, then we can read another verse. If calamity befalls your land, your property, your crops, your life, or your wealth, it was all already written in a book. It clearly states that your land, your property, your life, everything was written before it was created. He says, I had written it before you even existed. People read verses. Anyone can read a verse. But you cannot rely on them. You may stray from faith. Imam Rabbani Hazrat explains this. However, the meaning derived from the Quran and Hadith by the Ahl al-Sunnah is the one that is reliable in terms of faith. Every heretic, every misguided person tries to derive proof from the Quran and Hadith. That is why their interpretations are not reliable, he states.